What are naughty steppers? It's Connor Whitmore here again with another review for you on the Nawtystep channel, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about the new Trinergy EP released on Never Say Die Records, Ultimate. Russian Andrey Shehvatov, aka Trinergy, is a dubstep producer who has racked up releases for a slew of top labels, despite only being fully fledged in the game for around 3.5 years. With the likes of Rottun, Monstercat, Firepower and now Never Say Die among them in that time. Ending his 3-part Injection EP series in 2016 with Firepower, who put out the last two, the first one coming out via Rottun. Becoming a part of the Never Say Die family late last year with his collaboration Jabberwock alongside Stabby for the Never Say Die Volume 5 showcase. Someone whose sound has clearly evolved over the last few years through his multiple EPs, originals and remixes, with an undeniably unique style that has signalled him out as one of the genre's most sonically intriguing up-and-comers. Oozy, quirky and animated, yet simultaneously hard-hitting, entirely appropriate for the images he looks to conjure up through his music. With songs such as Destruction, OMG and his Bring the Madness remix alongside Tim Ismag gaining him said recognition. Ismag being someone with whom he has been steadily climbing up the ranks since the end of 2014, definitely check out his stuff too if you haven't already. Didn't hear too much from Trinergy in the way of solo projects in 2017, but he is back with his first EP since October 2016, and debut multi-track release for the Never Say Die label. And I don't want to spoil too much before going into my analysis of it, but honestly, I think this thing is well worth the near 2-year wait. Differently to usual, I'm going to start with the introductions in this EP because for me, they are the first captivating thing about it. Mostly possessing a glow and inviting feel to them to give us an insight into his illuminated style before the drops come into play, welcoming us into Trinergy's neon world. The twinkly opening to the EP in Carnage alongside Evil Wave has a bedtime story appeal to it, with a really genuine direction, almost hypnotic. Becoming weightier in its progression with those heavenly vocal notes layered over the top, the first inkling of Shehvatov's dark yet simultaneously bright style. Onwards from there, the glow of these introductions takes shape in different ways, the second track Bounce being more effervescent yet still directing you towards its own story. This section goes on to take a higher pitch with sirens as a matter-of-fact vocal comes in. I'm not sure if it quite fits over the backdrop, but I can see why it's needed as an extra dimension for that opening. Whilst I enjoy the definitive march of the introduction to Everybody Move with those present horn sounds, I feel it lacks a certain fullness even with the glow of those vocal notes. But the radiancy returns in the fourth track, Humpty Dumpty, with more laser effects, telling a story, very explanatory in their journey. Before the final number, Catch the Wave with Nitro Fun and The Brig. The introductory glow of which comes in these soft guitar notes, coating an underlying chugging bass line to make for quite a dreamy opening. So yeah, the introductions all have their own particular glow and luminescence to welcome us into that aspect of Trinergy's production. Something he's become renowned for over the last couple of years as a way of giving an outer-worldly, extraterrestrial shine to his sound. Which I must say extends into the midsections, the transitions in and out of which are pretty much all seamless and well fitted in this jigsaw-like way. The first drop sequence of Carnage melts gloriously back into that storytime opening, slightly out of focus. See what I mean? Before the machinery kick-starts again, albeit a little worse for wear as it gears up for battle once more, setting the scene very well. Bounce dips into its midsection with these fruity piercing notes, jazzy in sound yet uncertain in feel before the vocal and grand intro section re-emerge. Everybody Move reminds us of its opening march in a smoother way following its first drop, strings and lasers working in unison to create a proud and triumphant midsection. Humpty Dumpty stays true to its start with a very brief midsection of more spacey laser notes and light claps before going straight into the second main build. But the midsection that truly throws me every time comes in the final song, Catch the Wave. This insane trance-like tableau moment full of emotion and feeling, allowing us to reflect on everything from the previous 4 tracks. The kicks that come in here could have offset that vibe, but instead make it all the more ethereal. It's just stunning. Yeah, boy. So even before having talked about the heavier parts of this EP, there is a clear theme established across these 5 tracks through both their introductions and their midsections. Parts of songs presented to producers as opportunities to tell more of a story within the tracks individually, and then for the EP generally as a result. And as I just said, this is before I've even gotten into discussing the drops. Once again, they've all got something to deliver, so it's worth discussing them one by one. On Carnage, Trinergy teams up with another underrated up-and-comer, Evil Wave, to create a drop that comes across as quite scary. Pitting screaming sounds against these relentless hits of vacant industrial noise, the placement of each note being spot on. I'm not too big on the sounds in the progression to the first drop, but they are redeemed by the timing of them, jumpy and with an infectious swing and swagger. The second drop being a more incessant development, with rapid fire notes of the same sound, scratches in the background, then back to that staggered layout before the jumpiness returns. The gnarliest drop undoubtedly takes place in Everybody Move, following some short sinewy notes with those thumping growls, both animalistic and oozy. The interjecting jabs creating a fruitful contrast in these drop sequences, the whip sounds also making their presence felt to give the track that extra bit of spice. With the second drop being more of the same as little notes and bits of variation are added in, the force of this track is never lost as it goes from strength to strength. In Catch the Wave, we have one of the more gripping drops. I love the dynamic between those Hoover whip sounds and the invasive low-end sirens providing the character and personality. You've got the Dr. P sounds at the end of each drop sequence, the pinprick stabbing notes in the second drop, the whip sounds in isolation. It just keeps pushing itself. Again here, the timing of everything is outstanding. There's room enough to appreciate everything going on. It's got a great flow to it. So full but so accurate, which I feel you could say even more so for the heaviness in Bounce, which for me has the most rounded drops of the 5. The luminous notes that we catch a glimpse of in the builds to introduce the drops are thrilling in their freeze frame design, and all the gurgled stuff that follows, contorted and twisted. I love the mix of sounds on show here, tricksy but muddy. Just such an amazing wealth of effects, leaves a mark without being too in your face, simply because there's so much to take in as it winds this way and that. One marvellous touch from Shehvatov was to bring in the second drop with more of those luminous notes, yet this time they're shimmering, so colourful and completely stops you in your tracks. The control of this particular drop being crazier than the first, more of the same with the odd stop-start moment and more sounds added in. Everything competing for space in this very compact environment, yet again so stacked with sounds but so well executed. The drops that I wasn't as sure on in comparison come in Humpty Dumpty, where Shehvatov switches things up a little tempo-wise, arriving at the heaviness quicker than any other track following a rapid introduction and build. Just feels a little bit forced, not as creative or organic, has less going for it than the other 4, which seem more uninhibited and free. I like the robotic, fluorescent and jumpy turns it takes in the second drop, and the sub-bass is very consistent, but I come out of it thinking more that it's good as opposed to exceptional. Regardless of that anomaly, however, all of this is evidence not only of the ridiculous assortment of sounds Trinergy has to offer, but also of his constant drive to take further what he already has. The variety is there in particular sections, but also from section to section, mutations that cannot be ignored. And taking all of what's been said so far into account, discussing the intros, mid-sections and drops, I feel like there's a grand appeal to these tracks, different to stuff of his from the past that has been more to itself and cartoonish in its design, which is very possibly a result of him releasing under Never Say Die Now and not Firepower. Not sure quite what the link would be there, but it could be a reason. Maybe Trinergy was saving his most epic and pictorial creations for the biggest dubstep label around. Because we have a project here that's very sure of and confident in itself, daring yet simultaneously proud of its specific sections and in knitting them together. Once again finding that biting point in contrast between the weird and quirky bits and the vicious heaviness that runs throughout these 5 tracks. Said weird and quirky bits constituting as some of my favourite moments on Ultimate altogether. That unerringly uneasy moment before the main builds ensue in Carnage, so jarring but encapsulating the lack of knowing as to where this track and story will voyage next. So slight, but it really gears us up for that battle. The squeaky horn notes after every drop sequence in Bounce, so surreal, so unsettling, starved of hope, destined for hell. Those squirming, unravelling moments in Everybody Move, very alive and graphic. Another arresting stop-motion moment revitalising the track at those points. On a lighter note, the Never Say Die samples in Humpty Dumpty, a suitably cheeky touch. And the vocal notes in Catch the Wave coming in at 1 minute 26, so jovial, almost moving. This is Nitro Fun and the Brig really coming into their own at this point. The section that's in presenting another lovely dynamic between those vocal notes and this background fuzziness that blend together so well following both main drops. Brimming with flavour, emphatic, emotional, it's just so beautiful. Other great sounds in this EP that cannot go unmentioned, including the clatter sounds as the drops progress in Carnage, and the ooh-woah sounds in Humpty Dumpty, which are just irresistible. I think I've mentioned all the other ones that I just can't get enough of already. I have spent this review talking both about individual sounds and sections, which shows just how well put together Ultimate is. Emphatic tracks that all know exactly what they want to do, revelling in their experimentation and adventure. Becomes less showy and more understated after the halfway mark, but still delivers so much in the way of personality, character and story through 1 to 5, beginning to end. The dark and gritty aspect being so clear, yet every track starts with this glow, all pretty much drawing towards these calm, soothing standstills too, another thing I could have elaborated on. The final hurrah being the ending to the EP in Catch the Wave, with that sweet wind down, kick and sparkly notes, the shortest track on Ultimate rounding things up so well. The ending to Everybody Move is particularly nice as well, with the muffled strings and lasers in isolation, properly pretty. There are parts, as I've mentioned, that don't quite live up to that standard, but that's to be expected in an EP of this quality. It's not going to be perfect. And even those moments that are slightly lacking have things going for them. The good across these 5 tracks heavily outweighs any notion or idea of the bad. So many flashes of brilliance too, and spread over the entire EP, making me want to listen to it in full again and again and not just 1 or 2 tracks. In turn, this makes it very difficult to ignore the part that all 5 songs have to play in Ultimate. It's a very holistic project in that respect. I would say it's the exact right thing that Trinergy could have done with his debut multi-track release on the biggest dubstep stage of all. It's a brilliant exhibition of his sound whilst also displaying an ambition beyond the more withdrawn and contained stuff that he has put out in the past, leading me to wonder whether this is his breakout moment. I mean, I thought this guy deserved way more recognition than he did before this EP, but Ultimate just solidifies that thought. He's criminally underrated and worthy of a much bigger following than his near 10k on SoundCloud suggests, so get following, guys. You know, we may be looking at one of the potential EPs of the year here, I'm telling you now. Now, in terms of a favourite from Ultimate, then I think I would have to go with Bounce. All of the sounds are really well constructed, but this one takes it for me, reaches into the most moods whilst making it all cohere. So many sounds on show, just has the most going for it in several ways. And in terms of recommendations, if you enjoyed this EP, then I would look at Tim Ismag, who I mentioned at the start, Extra Terror, and the other artists involved in this EP, so Evil Wave, Nitro Fun, The Brig. I would also check out Dr. Ozzy's Blueprint EP, another huge project and great representation of a particular sound, my favourite EP of last year. And so that is that for another review on the Nawtystep channel, this time of the debut Trinergy EP on Never Say Die Records, Ultimate. Thank you very much, and as always, for tuning in. What did you guys make of it? Do you have a favourite track of the 5? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, then be sure to give it a big ol' thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, hitting that notification bell along the way so you can be notified whenever I upload to the Nawtystep channel. Next to my head, there should be some other Never Say Die reviews from the channel, so if you enjoyed this one, then be sure to check those out too. And don't forget to like and follow Nawtystep across all social media if you haven't already, with everything linked, including those recommendations, in the description box down below. And lastly, if it's naughty, then you know, guys, so be sure as always to keep it naughty and stay safe. And I shall see all of you in the next one. Peace out.